"One more look and you're fired." And I whispered back, "Or maybe you just made it up." That was the moment my life in this company turned upside down. I can still remember her eyes, sharp, confident, and just a little amused. Like she already knew how I'd answer before I even opened my mouth. I didn't plan to say it. It just slipped out like the truth always does when your nerves crack. And for a second, I thought I had ruined everything. My name is Ethan Hayes. I'm 28. And if you asked anyone here what kind of guy I am, they'd probably say ordinary. I grew up in a small town, worked my way through college by fixing old laptops and delivering pizzas, and somehow landed a job in one of the most powerful companies in the city. People say I'm lucky, but luck feels different when you're staying late every night, chasing deadlines, hoping someone will finally notice. And that someone in my case happened to be her. Isabella Grant, my CEO. 42 years old, untouchable, brilliant, the kind of woman people describe with words like steel and fire. I never meant to get caught staring. Honestly, it wasn't even the way she looked. It was the way the room changed when she walked in. Meetings turned quieter. Pens stopped tapping. People held their breath. She carried authority like it was stitched into her tailored jacket. And yet, behind the way she pressed her lips together or tapped a pen against the table, I saw something no one else seemed to notice. A loneliness, a silence louder than her voice. Maybe that's why I looked too long. The night it happened, the office was nearly empty. I had stayed late to finish a report because in my head, one more late night might mean one more step out of the shadows. Isabella walked past my desk. I thought she wouldn't notice me like she usually didn't. But then she stopped, leaned just slightly closer and said it. "One more look and you're fired." Her tone was half threat, half challenge. My chest tightened, my throat went dry. But for some reason, I didn't back down. I said the first words that burned inside me. "Or maybe you made it up." She didn't blink. For a moment, I thought she would call security or tear my badge off. Instead, she smiled, a small secret smile, and then she walked away, leaving me with my heart racing like I just jumped off a building. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept hearing her voice, replaying that strange little game we had started. Did she expect me to say that? Was she testing me, or did she just enjoy watching me squirm? I didn't know. But I knew one thing. Something had shifted between us. The next day, I tried to act normal. I buried myself in spreadsheets, avoided her office, and hoped the moment would vanish like a dream. But it didn't. When she entered the room during a meeting, her eyes landed on me first. Not on the charts, not on the managers, on me. And I swear there was a spark there. Something playful, something dangerous. I wasn't the only one who noticed. Lucas Wright, my closest friend in the office, nudged me during the break. "Careful, man. You keep staring at the Ice Queen like that. You'll either melt her heart or get burned alive." He laughed, but I couldn't because deep down I wasn't sure which one it would be. And then there was Nathan Cole. If Lucas Wright was my ally, Nathan Cole was the opposite. Older, polished, and hungry for the same promotion I had been working toward. He always knew how to twist things in his favor, how to whisper in the right ears. The moment he caught the shift in Isabella's gaze, I could feel his eyes drilling into me, like he'd found a weakness he would exploit. Still, that wasn't what haunted me most. What haunted me was the way Isabella's words clung to my mind. One more look. It wasn't a warning anymore. Felt like an invitation. By the end of that week, I knew I couldn't stay invisible any longer. Whether it meant getting fired or something else entirely, I had already taken the first step, and she knew it. The night after that strange exchange, I couldn't focus on anything but her. Isabella's smile, the kind that said she was in control, even when she didn't speak, haunted me. It wasn't just attraction. It was the weight of danger mixed with curiosity. I felt like a kid who had opened a forbidden door and was now standing in the dark, waiting to see what was on the other side. The following day, an email appeared in my inbox. "See me in my office. 7:30 p.m. Don't be late." No subject line, no signature, but I didn't need one. My pulse hammered against my ribs as I read it over and over again. All day, I counted the hours until evening, pretending to work while every spreadsheet blurred together. Lucas Wright noticed I was off. "Man, what's going on? You look like you've seen a ghost." I brushed him off, but he wouldn't quit. "If this is about her, don't. She's not someone you can play games with." His words weren't cruel. They were protective. But still, they only pushed me closer to the edge. When the office finally emptied out, I walked down the long hallway toward her door. The city outside glowed through the tall windows, skyscrapers shining like a million silent witnesses. My palms were damp, my throat dry. I told myself it was just a meeting, but I didn't believe it. I knocked. "Come in." Her voice called, steady and calm. Her office was dim except for the skyline behind her. She didn't sit behind her desk. Instead, she stood by the window, arms crossed, eyes locked on me. "Close the door." I obeyed. "You know why you're here?" she asked. Her tone wasn't sharp, but it held weight. I swallowed hard. "Because of what I said that," she replied. "And because I want to see if you meant it." She stepped closer, the sound of her heels sharp against the floor. "You told me I made it up. So tell me again, were you just trying to save yourself, or do you actually think I wanted you to look?" The air between us grew heavy. For once, I didn't look away. "I think I said slowly that you don't waste words. If you said it, you wanted me to hear it." Her lips curved into that same secret smile. "Honest. That's rare around here." She gestured to the chair near her desk. "Sit." I did, my hands clasped tightly. She leaned on the edge of her desk closer now, her eyes searching mine. "This company is full of men who flatter me, who tell me what they think I want to hear. Do you know how exhausting that is?" I shook my head. "I can imagine." Her voice softened, though her gaze never lost its edge. "I don't need another sycophant. What I need is someone who tells me the truth, even when it's inconvenient." I felt something shift inside me. She wasn't just testing my loyalty to the company. She was testing me. Then the door cracked open. Nathan Cole, the senior manager, stepped in without knocking. "Isabella, about the quarterly." He froze when he saw me. His eyes narrowed, lips curling into a smirk. "Sorry, didn't realize you were busy." Isabella's tone turned cold. "We'll talk later, Nathan Cole." He left, but not before giving me a look that promised trouble. When the door shut, she sighed almost imperceptibly and turned back to me. "You see what I mean? He plays games, lies, manipulates. That's the kind of man who runs this place when I let my guard down." Something about the way she said it made me realize how isolated she really was. A fortress on the outside, but inside lonely, mistrusting. "Then don't let your guard down," I said softly. For the first time, her eyes flickered with something I hadn't seen before. Vulnerability. She let out a small laugh, shaking her head. "Easier said than done." Then she straightened, the steel returning to her posture. "Go home, Ethan Hayes. We'll talk again soon." As I left her office, I knew this wasn't just about work anymore. It was about her and me, about a connection that neither of us had planned, but both of us felt. And as much as I tried to convince myself to stop, deep down, I knew I wasn't going to. The days after that meeting blurred together, but not because they were empty. If anything, every hour felt charged, like electricity was hiding in the air. I'd sit at my desk pretending to type, but whenever Isabella passed by, my focus shattered. I could feel her eyes on me, sometimes cool, sometimes playful, always unreadable. One evening, I found myself working late again. The floor was quiet, only the low hum of computers and the city's glow through the windows. I was gathering papers for the next day when I noticed the light under her office door. She was still inside. I hesitated. Part of me wanted to leave to avoid another moment that could spiral into something dangerous. But something stronger pulled me forward. I knocked lightly. "Come in," she said. Her jacket was off, her hair slightly undone. She stood over the conference table, papers scattered everywhere. She glanced at me with tired eyes that softened when they landed on mine. "Still here. Same as you," I said. "Too much work. Not enough hours." She gave a small laugh, the kind that sounded almost foreign coming from her. "Work never ends. That's the problem with this place." She reached for the projector remote, but it flickered and died. She cursed under her breath. I don't have time for this. Let me try, I offered. I stepped closer, took the remote from her hand and fiddled with it. Our fingers brushed. Just a second, but long enough to send a pulse through me. The silence stretched, broken only by the click of the remote and the thud of my heartbeat. Finally, the screen lit up. She smiled faintly. Thank you. I nodded, but neither of us moved away. She leaned a little closer, studying me like I was part of some equation she was trying to solve. You don't flinch, she said. Most men do around me, but you don't. I see you as a person, I replied quietly. Not just a title. Her eyes lingered on mine. The moment felt fragile, like a thread that could snap with the slightest pull. For a heartbeat, I thought she might close the distance between us. Instead, she drew in a breath and turned back to her papers. You should go home. It's late. I gathered my things, but as I reached the door, she spoke again. Ethan Hayes. I turned. You're playing with fire. Her voice was soft, almost a whisper. Then she added, and I can't decide if I want to stop you. That night, sleep was impossible. Her words replayed in my head over and over. I knew the risks. She was my boss, and Nathan Cole was already circling like a vulture. But there was no denying it anymore. She wanted me close, even if she wouldn't admit it outright. The next day, the tension only grew. Lucas Wright cornered me at lunch. All right, spill it. Something's happening, and I know you too well to believe it's nothing. I shook my head. It's complicated. He leaned in. Complicated usually means dangerous. Don't let her drag you into something that'll wreck your career. I wanted to argue, but he wasn't wrong. Still, when I walked back into the office and caught Isabella watching me from across the floor, the warning faded. It wasn't just attraction anymore. It was connection. Later that afternoon, Nathan Cole made his move. He dropped a folder on my desk. His smirk as sharp as a knife. Missing documents. Careless mistake. You might want to double-check your work before someone important notices. His tone dripped with mock sympathy. I flipped through the folder. The numbers were wrong. Deliberately wrong. He wanted me to take the fall. Thanks for the tip, I said evenly, refusing to give him the satisfaction of seeing me rattle. But inside, anger burned. That evening, as I left the building, I caught sight of Isabella through her office window, silhouetted against the city lights. She looked untouchable, powerful. And yet I knew what I had seen in those moments when her mask slipped. And I knew something else, too. I was already in too deep to walk away. After Nathan Cole's little stunt with the documents, I started noticing how closely he was watching me. Every time I passed his office, his eyes followed. Every time Isabella spoke to me during meetings, I could feel his jealousy radiating across the room. It wasn't just rivalry anymore. It was personal. But what unsettled me more wasn't Nathan Cole. It was Isabella. She was different with me now. To the rest of the company, she remained the same untouchable CEO. Sharp, precise, impossible to read. Yet, when the two of us were alone, she let her guard slip. A smile here, a softer tone there. Small things, but enough to make me wonder if I was seeing the real woman beneath the armor. One evening, she asked me to stay late again. The office was quiet, bathed in the warm glow of desk lamps. She sat across from me at the conference table reviewing a presentation. You did good work, she said. I blinked, caught off guard. Praise wasn't something she handed out easily. Thank you. She looked at me for a long time, tapping her pen against the table. You don't understand. Most people here cut corners. They fake numbers polish what doesn't shine. But you don't. You do the work. That's rare. Her voice wasn't just professional. Carried something else. Admiration, maybe. Trust. I didn't know what to say, so I just nodded. But she didn't look away. And then, without warning, she spoke words I never expected. My husband cheated on me, she said quietly. The room went still. I froze, unsure how to respond. She had never spoken about her personal life. Not even once. He died before I could decide whether to forgive him, she continued, her eyes fixed on the table. And ever since, I've wondered if people see me as weak or just a fool. I felt my chest tighten. For the first time, she wasn't the CEO. She was a woman carrying a wound that hadn't healed. "You're not weak," I said softly. "You built this company. You hold it together every day. That's strength." Her eyes lifted to mine, and for a moment, the mask was gone. No steel, no fire, just raw human pain. Slowly, she reached across the table. Her hand hovered for a second before resting on mine. The touch was light, almost hesitant. "You're different, Ethan Hayes. You don't look at me the way they do." I wanted to say something, anything, but my throat closed. I just held her gaze, letting the silence speak for me. That was when the door opened. Nathan Cole stood there, one eyebrow raised, his smirk spreading wide. "Am I interrupting?" His voice dripped with false politeness. Isabella's hand slipped away from mine instantly, her posture snapping back into its usual authority. "What is it, Nathan Cole?" "Just thought you'd want an update on tomorrow's meeting." His eyes flicked to me, full of venom. "But it seems you're occupied." "Ouch," she said sharply. He didn't move. Instead, he leaned against the doorframe, enjoying the power of the moment. "Careful, Isabella. People might start talking, and we wouldn't want a promising young employee's career to go up in flames. Would we?" Her glare could have cut glass. I set out. Finally, he left, the door clicking shut behind him, but the damage was done. The fragile moment we had shared was gone, replaced by tension and fear. Isabella sighed, rubbing her temples. "He'll use this against us." I shook my head, then let him. "I don't care." She looked at me, her eyes full of conflict. "But I do." She stood, walking toward the window, the city lights framing her silhouette. "You don't understand what's at stake. If this leaks, it won't just be you. It will be me, my reputation, everything I've built." I wanted to argue, to tell her it didn't matter, but I could see how much it did. For her, this company wasn't just a job. It was her shield, her fortress, her proof that she could survive betrayal and loss. "I'm not afraid of him," I said finally. She turned, her expression softer now, almost pleading. "Then maybe you should be." For the first time, I realized the truth. I wasn't fighting just Nathan Cole. I was fighting the walls Isabella had built around herself, and those walls were taller than any skyscraper outside her window. The next week felt like walking through a storm. Nathan Cole hovered around every corner, his smirk never leaving his face. He didn't have to say anything. His silence alone carried the threat. I knew he was waiting for the perfect moment to strike, to expose me, and bring Isabella down with me. Isabella, on the other hand, became colder in public. During meetings, she didn't so much as glance at me. Her words were sharp, clipped, almost rehearsed. To anyone else, it looked like she was ignoring me. But I knew the truth. She was protecting us, or maybe just protecting herself. Lucas Wright noticed. "She's freezing you out," he said during a coffee break. "Maybe that's a good thing. Maybe it ends here before it gets worse." But it was already too late. Couldn't walk away. The breaking point came during the quarterly board meeting. The room was packed. Directors, senior managers, all of them staring down at us from across the long polished table. Isabella stood at the head, commanding the room as always. I sat near the middle, papers in front of me, though my mind wasn't on numbers. Then Nathan Cole made his move. He cleared his throat, standing with calculated confidence. "Before we proceed, I think the board deserves to know about a matter that concerns the integrity of this company." My stomach dropped. He glanced at me, his eyes gleaming with victory. "It has come to my attention that certain employees are benefiting from special treatment. Attention from leadership that could compromise objectivity." The room stirred. A few directors leaned forward. I felt every eye shift toward me. Isabella didn't flinch. "Is there a point to this, Nathan Cole?" He smiled thinly. "Only that favoritism, when left unchecked, can destroy trust in leadership. And I believe we should address it now." The silence that followed was suffocating. This was it, the moment he had been building toward. I opened my mouth, ready to take the fall, to admit something that would shield her. But Isabella spoke first. "Enough," she said, her voice slicing through the tension. She turned to the board. If we're speaking about integrity, then let's be clear. Ethan Hayes is one of the most hardworking and honest employees here. Any suggestion otherwise is nothing more than a desperate attempt to distract from someone else's failures. Her eyes locked on Nathan Cole. Gasps and whispers rippled through the room. Nathan Cole's face twisted, caught off guard. She continued, her tone unwavering. Ethan Hayes's contributions on the last project were critical. Without him, we wouldn't have delivered ahead of schedule. That is the truth. And if anyone here wishes to challenge it, present evidence. Otherwise, this discussion is over. No one spoke. Nathan Cole's smirk had vanished. He sank back into his chair, defeated. The meeting pressed on, but I barely heard it. All I could think about was the way she had stood up for me, not as my boss, but as someone who cared. When it finally ended, I stayed behind to gather my papers. The directors filed out, their murmurs fading down the hall. Isabella lingered near the window, her back to me. I hesitated, then walked toward her. You didn't have to do that. She turned, her eyes tired, but steady. Yes, I did. I'm done letting people like him control me with fear. For a long moment, we just looked at each other. The city stretched out behind her. Skyscrapers glowing against the night sky. Felt like the whole world was holding its breath. Isabella, I said quietly, what happens now? She stepped closer, her voice barely above a whisper. Now we stop pretending. Her words hit me harder than any confession. They weren't dramatic. They weren't loud, but they were real. I didn't move, didn't dare break the fragile moment. She studied me as if weighing whether I was strong enough to stand beside her in the storm that was sure to follow. Finally, she asked almost teasingly, "You're still looking, aren't you?" I smiled faintly. I won't look away again. The corner of her lips curved into that secret smile, the one that had started everything. And just like that, I knew the fire we had lit couldn't be extinguished.